Hello, this is Stephen O'Keefe. I was the camera assistant on A New Day, which is copyright the Department of Supply and Services Canada. I've decided to upload this video to give you an idea of what it's like to be a camera assistant on a high-budget shoot like this. Don't worry about this little girl in the boat. She's protected by two Canadian Navy divers underneath the boat at all times to make sure she's safe. I was hired for A New Day by checking out the offices of a company called Videotech. They were located in the same building as Atlantic Independent Media, which was the company distributing my video On the Street, which is also available on YouTube. I met the director, Gerard Dolan, and the producer, John DeWitt. Turns out they were prepping A New Day and were looking for a camera assistant. I gave them my oral resume of Cape Breton Cablevision employment and my experience at college with the video department. And they hired me for A New Day. Little did I know at the time, this setup here in the kitchen is memorable because the key grip was bullying me a bit. He was usually in camera support. He was a camera assistant or a camera operator himself, and he felt threatened that I was stealing his job. And because I was so much shorter than him, I'm only 5'6", he was probably around 6'2", and because I was so much younger than him, I was only 21 years old at this time, he felt the need to do things like, when we were getting ready for the aerial shoot, he would go, "I think I see a tear in your eye," like I was too scared to go up in the helicopter. Or whenever I would have to mention something with the camera, he would go, "Bad call." Not bad call why or bad call because, but just a bad call to make me look like an imbecile in front of the director of photography and the director. But it all came to a point in that kitchen setup I mentioned where he felt the need to line up a shot through the camera, and I was away from the camera, and he ended up pulling the viewfinder right out of the Betacam SP unit, which is a very expensive camera at the time. Wires literally dangling out of the viewfinder in his hand. And all myself, the director of photography, Bob Zimmerman, and the director, Gerard Dolan, and I could do was wait in silence as the key grip soldered the viewfinder back into the Betacam unit. So I didn't hear much about issues with the key grip after that. Here's another dolly shot with the grips at work here. Bob Zimmerman, the DOP, wasn't too adventurous with focus pulling or filtration, so I didn't have that much to do with him in that regard. My job mainly on this shoot was making sure that the camera was ready for the director and the director of photography first thing in the morning, and for each setup we would do during the day, making sure that I was there with the video tap set up for the director to check out the DOP's framing right at the outset of every shoot, and making sure the camera gear was packed up at the end of each setup, and the batteries were charged every night for the shooting day, making sure the camera was clean at all times for the DOP, that kind of thing. It was only a matter of time before the military ended up bringing me into its fold on this shoot. Here's another dolly shot with the grips at work in the classroom here. Being that Halifax has quite a military presence, this was shot in and around Halifax, Nova Scotia. And a few of my videos at our college, at the Nova Scotia College of Art and Design, were anti-military, and on the street was anti-military and anti-war as well. So with the military presence in Halifax, it was only a matter of time before I got wrapped up into a shoot like this. But I asked the director, Gerard Dolan, at the outset what the shoot was going to be about, and he said it was about just learning French in the military. That was the only propaganda involved, was learning French. So I didn't object. Yes, we had divers. The entire military was at our disposal for this shoot. It was very high budget, as I mentioned. But I wanted the experience that the shoot had to offer. So when it came time to go into production, I was offered an accident and injury waiver to sign, which the rest of the crew didn't sign off on. Basically, it was because it was so high risk being in and around and underneath helicopters on the shoot. Like you see here, the rotors aren't spinning on the helicopter, so the DOP Bob Zimmerman shot this himself handheld. But for the shot coming up underneath the helicopter, that's Gerard Dolan, the director, and myself supporting him underneath the helicopter. And I can tell you, when the helicopter rotors begin spinning, as you see there, to achieve lift and change their axis to get the helicopter off the ground, you feel like a flapjack, like you're going to be sucked right up into the rotor blades. The vacuum is that intense. There it is, we're right underneath the helicopter there. Just Gerard Dolan and I. The rest of the crew must have thought I was foolish signing off on the waiver, meaning that I couldn't sue Videotech if I was injured on the shoot. But I was very young and ambitious, and I wanted everything that the shoot had to offer to go on my resume. And it did provide that. It provided a lot of experience. It's a bit like your Superman when you're up in the helicopters. All you can see in your peripheral vision are the rotors. And you're flying out over the ocean, and it's all very exciting. I'll cut to the helicopter footage here. This is where Gerard and I would be outside the side of the helicopter. We're hooked into what were called monkey grips, which was this vest that goes around your torso that hooks you to the framework of the helicopter so you don't fall out. And that's basically what we're doing there, is hanging out the side, Gerard shooting and me supporting him with keeping him stable. And there's the live action shoot with the little girl by the rock. This was quite memorable with the rock she was at, because when it came time to, there's the girl by the rock there, that's actually a dummy which had to be placed onto the McNabb's Island where we shot this air-sea rescue. And guess who got to place the dummy by the rock all by himself? The guy who signed the waiver. And what happened was you can see this was shot by Gerard and I at a distance. You can see the helicopter chopping up the waves. When you're in the chute like this, you're just covered with a fine coating of sea salt. When you're done, it's just a spray from the helicopter blades chopping up the waves. But as I was mentioning, the dummy had to be placed by a rock to be winched into the helicopter for the air-sea rescue. And they had a Huey drop me off with the dummy. I ran like the Dickens to the rock, placed the dummy in a position which looked photogenic. And then when I came back around the island, running to get back to the Huey. It wasn't just the Huey, it was a Huey and 2 Sea Kings waiting for me, and me alone to return. And I said, this is something you're never going to experience for the rest of your life. Just soak this up. This is why you signed the waiver. And I just walked slowly back to the helicopters waiting information for me to return. And they picked me up and off we went to shoot the air-sea rescue footage. This is shot with the full crew with Bob Zimmerman and the child actor. So I guess that's all I have to say about A New Day. I'll end with some photos here. The first photo is of the crew. This is a production photo taken by somebody, I forget whom. But there's Bob Zimmerman, the DOP, pointing, and Gerard Dolan looking at the video tap. There I am to the left of the camera. And there I am in my monkey grip and my helmet for the aerial shoot, all the age of 21. This photo was taken by Gerard Dolan. So we'll just end with the credits here. This is a very memorable shoot for me. I gained a lot of experience. I'm glad I signed the waiver. Despite his best attempts of the key grip, I made it through the shoot just fine. I checked the key grip's IMDb page. He's doing fine. He's still at it, doing camera support. So being demoted to a key grip on this shoot didn't harm him in the least. I know I was appreciated on this shoot because I was invited to not one but 2 wrap parties, one involving the cast and crew and the helicopter pilots and military personnel and so on and so forth, and another more intimate dinner with Ruth Astor and Gerard Dolan and a few others. So it was a good experience. And I'll just let the credits roll and leave it at that. I hope you enjoyed my commentary and found it informative. Goodbye.